This is, without a doubt, my favorite One Piece trading card game meta I have ever seen. What is up? It's your boy Real_Joshua, and I have good news and I have some bad news. The good news is, like I said, this is the best meta I have ever played in of One Piece. At least out of the ones that I have played in, which, remember, I started in OP06, which was the debut of Gecko Moria, who has turned out to haunt the metagame ever since. But the reason why I love this meta is because I feel like I can play so many more leaders. It feels like the possibilities are endless, but as you all know, I have been sticking with my main girl, and that is Boa. Always loved this leader. I just have not been able to play her because she is bad against Black, and Black has been very popular in the metagame ever since I started playing. So now that Black is a little bit more under control, I feel like I can play this leader and she is viable in the metagame. Now, it doesn't feel like Gecko Moria decks are the meta-defining, meta-suppressing horror that they used to be in this game, and that they have been ever since I started playing. Now, I know a lot of people who play Black will disagree with me on this. I just personally do not like the playstyle. I tried playing Lucci for a bit. It just was not my speed, was not my style. I actually think that they are really cool and interesting decks and take a lot of thinking. I do not think that Lucci is as autopilot as some people say it is, and maybe I have even said that it was in the past. Decks like BY Luffy are really awesome because they are so difficult to pilot, even though they do run a card as powerful as Gecko Moria. But that being said, it's just not really my playstyle, and it's kind of sucked in the past that I couldn't play a deck that wasn't that. My favorite used to be RP Law outside of that because it was powerful without being a Black deck, but you all know what happened with RP Law, so. Anyway, the meta now feels super diverse, and with the release of OP09 leaders like Shanks and Blackbeard, it feels like we actually have new additions, new blood in this game that can continue to be good moving forward, that are actually enjoyable to play, that are not straight up Black decks. We've seen the resurgence of the purple color, which has been awesome. Watching Pluffy get good, watching RP Luffy become viable have been amazing, with cards like Goldie Roger, cards like Luffy Taro that make this game so much more interesting to play. And yeah, I'm loving this kind of renaissance of the game. It feels like so many things are possible. And as proof, let's talk about Orlando Nats for a second. I was there, and Cross won that freaking competition with BY Luffy, which, BY Luffy has been a really powerful deck for a long time, but people weren't really expecting that. A lot of the pros had kind of foreseen that coming because BY Luffy is a powerful deck, especially against a lot of the metagame, but people weren't really predicting that. So I think that even when we do see these tried and true leaders continue to stay good, it feels like other things can happen. And we saw a Shanks win a tourney recently, Latin American Nationals. I don't know, it just feels like the possibilities are really open and really endless. But like I said, not everything is good news, so let's get to the bad news. First off, well, not everybody likes this type of metagame. I was talking to someone at Locals recently, and I was like, man, I love this meta. I think it's so diverse. I think it's so interesting. I love that I can play Boa Hancock without insta-losing to 3/4 of the decks that I come across. And he was like, yeah, it is really nice that it's diverse, but it kind of feels like rock, paper, scissors. And this is something that I feel like I hear from a lot of people. I think when the deck spreads are very diverse, when we have a lot of different decks that can be good within the metagame, there are a lot of people who just don't like that because it's a different style than what they like in the metagame. I think there's a wide audience of really competitive players who like the metagame to be more stagnant and predictable. I think these people really thrived and loved when the metagame was Sakazuki, and you would see tons of Sakazuki mirrors topping nationals and all these really big competitions. I've never really understood that logic, but trying to put myself in their shoes, I can definitely see where they're coming from, right? For pro players and people at the highest level, it must feel like when you know what you're gonna come up against, what the best deck is, like Sakazuki, for instance, it's gotta feel like one of the purest expressions of skill available in the One Piece card game, because it doesn't come down to, what you end up drawing in your matchups, because you kind of feel like you can beat everything except maybe Sakazuki. It just comes down to how well you built your deck, how good your ratios are, how well you can pilot that deck against the other best players in the world. And that's got to be an amazing feeling to feel like you are in control of all this stuff. I would liken it to people who play Super Smash Brothers professionally, right? Like of course they turn off items. Of course they play on Final Destination and these maps that are really Battlefield-esque that don't have any distractions or anything on them, because it is a pure expression of skill and it's not influenced by all these random aspects that are coming at you from outside that can ruin your game. Now, when we have all these different decks and you are playing Lucci, it's like, well, do I run into Blackbeard or BY Luffy or not? If you're playing BY Luffy, it's like, do I run into something that counters me like a Bonnie or not? And that's gotta be frustrating for the higher level players who wanna make these deep tournament runs with as little resistance and as little RNG as possible, right? And sometimes the Bandai TCG pairing gods are not on your side. So I really understand that perspective, and I think that this meta is probably not that fun for those types of players. I, for one, love the variety, even when it is kind of rock, paper, scissors-y in nature, because it feels like I can play more decks and have fun with them. As you all know, I am someone who likes to cook. I'm someone who likes to mess around, play stuff that is like slightly less viable, and it feels like I can actually go to a local and do well with that. Granted, that's always been the case. Locals, like, not everybody is playing the top meta deck. I feel like those who are typically gonna win, but right now it feels like when you go to a local, you can really win with a non-meta deck, and that's just a really cool feeling. Because like when you have one leader or one color that is absolutely dominating the game for 4 months, black decks with Gecko Moria, then it feels like you can't run other decks like Boa Hancock or other blue decks or other decks that just get stomped by black, which just so happens to be a lot of decks in this game historically. So now we have this meta where I can play Boa and everything feels great. Which brings us to the last weird and kind of bad thing about this metagame, which is that the more competitive I get with my attempt to play this game, I feel like the less interesting my content gets. It's a really weird thing where, like, being a content creator, you have to kind of choose between making like consistently good content and dedicating time to getting better at the game. I feel like I try to do both, but when I'm playing a different deck every day, it's harder for me to get good at a specific deck. Believe it or not, a lot of this game is learning the ins and outs of your specific deck, your matchups, how all of the little mini interactions work within your mechanics of your deck. And these are things that I don't have time to do if I'm just creating content every day and building a different deck every 3 times a week. This is why, every Leader 3 decks hasn't been running as consistently as it has been before, because, I've just been going to locals. And believe it or not, there is an opportunity cost. If I am going to locals, I am not creating content. Now, what is the solution to that? I'm not 100% sure, but I think what it's going to be from now on is that when I go to locals, I'm going to bring a camera with me. I'm going to bring something with me to hopefully like create some deck profiles. I would love to get like interviews and, get my feet dirty with like talking to people in the scene. I already do that. I'm already friendly with a lot of people at my locals. Like, shouts out to everyone who has met me at a local before. You are all awesome. And I would love to turn that into some content in the future, because I would love for this channel to be somewhere where competitive players can come and have fun and newcomers can come and learn the game more. So that's going to be the next steps for me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you love this meta? Do you hate it? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? These are the kinds of conversations that really intrigue me when playing a game like One Piece, any sort of card game. And I think the meta here has been really, really interesting, and I'm really excited to see where it goes in the future. Anyway, again, let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe to this video if you haven't already. Maybe like look at your subscribe button and you might be like, what the heck? I haven't subscribed to this guy. I watch his videos all the time. Click it. Just click the button right now. Okay? I would really appreciate it. Finally, go check out Purposefully TCG's channel. He just put up a video, a new sketch, and I am actually in that. It was my great honor to work with the amazing Purposefully TCG on that video, and I hope that you find that funny. It's a good one. I had a lot of fun with that. And anyway, find me on Twitter at HiThereJosh. I'm also on Instagram at real_JoshuaTCG. And I will see you in the next one. Later.